Aikwe, Neknamalita, and this is my channel, The Midnight Librarian, and today I'll be talking about my June TBR. So not only is this going to be my June TBR, but it's also going to be a brief channel update. I've been doing the Pokemon cards choose my TBR for 2 years now, I feel like. Maybe 3, I don't remember. But ultimately, I'm still going to be doing them, but given the last couple months and my want and need to have more time in order to complete my TBR, I know that ultimately my TBR is not set in stone. I'm ultimately a mood reader, but I still feel like I would like more room to kind of play with it. So have 10 or so prompts picked by the cards, but give me more time to ultimately read them, because that's what I'm finding is that I am very much still interested in reading the books that my Pokemon cards choose for me, or that help choose. I'd just like more time to be able to read them, but have also more time to be able to mood read as well. I'm going to try this out, is that this is going to be my Pokemon cards choose my TBR not only for June but for July as well, and to give me a 2-month time span in order to complete them. We'll see how this goes. I know I had almost thought about 3 months, like a quarter of the year. I like doing this. I think it's really fun. I just wanted to give myself just a little more time. So I think 2 months is a good one. So this is June and July, and it'll be August, September will be the next one, October, November, and we'll see how it is in December and January, just because I tend to like to keep the years separated. So we'll see how that goes, and then if I am interested in doing any readathons, then I'll post those TBRs separate. So yeah, let's just go ahead and get into it. So if you're not aware, I do a Pokemon cards choose my TBR. I'll have the playlist linked above as well as down below, but ultimately it's similar to a TBR jar, except rather than a jar, I have this Shining Fates box, and within this box I have various types of Pokemon booster packs. So go ahead and pick one. So we have Obsidian Flames, and then each Pokemon type has a prompt that I then try to pick a book for. So let's go ahead and get rid of this first one, and then we'll go ahead and get into what the cards choose for me. So this is a Psychic energy card. Energy cards are to read a book with a color that matches the card. Purple is an interesting one because I don't have very many books that have purple in it. So we'll go ahead and give this a try, and that is the Book of Hidden Wonders by Polly Crosby. So there are some pinkish purpley flowers, but as well as someone's blouse right here. I got this a while ago. I can't quite remember what it's about. We're following Ramilly Kemp and her eccentric painter father have happy but sheltered lives in a ramshackle mansion in the English countryside. When her father finds fame with a series of children's books starring Romilly as the main character, everything changes. Exotic foods appear on the table, her father appears on TV, and strangers appear at their door, convinced the books will lead them to a precious prize. But as time passes, Romilly's father becomes increasingly suspicious of the outside world until before her eyes he begins to disappear within himself. She returns to his illustrations, looking for a way to connect with her ailing father, and finds a series of clues he's left just for her. This treasure hunt doesn't lead her to gold or jewels, but something worth far more, a shocking secret that is crucial to understanding her family. So I think it'll be really fun, mysterious. So this is Scizor, and it's the evolved form of Scyther, and it's a steel Pokemon. For steel Pokemon, it's to read nonfiction, but it's also a holographic, and that's to read an anticipated nonfiction. It doesn't necessarily have to be a new one, but I think that's what I'm going to go with. And I think I'm going to go ahead and go with The Age of Magical Overthinking, Notes on Modern Irrationality by Amanda Montell. I recently read Cultish and really enjoyed it. This one particularly is Amanda Montell's newest release, and utilizes the linguistic insights of her witty and brilliant first book, Word Slut, and the sociological exploration of her breakout hit Coltish. Amanda Montell now turns her erudite eye to the inner workings of the human mind and its biases in her most personal and electrifying work yet. Magical thinking can be broadly defined as the belief that one's internal thoughts can affect unrelated events in the external world. Think of the conviction that one can manifest their way out of poverty, stave off cancer with positive vibes, thwart the apocalypse by learning to can their own peaches, or transform an unhealthy relationship to a glorious one with loyalty alone. So I remember reading the synopsis the first time and thinking, ooh, I don't know if this book's gonna call me out or not. But I really, like I said, I had enjoyed reading Coltish, and so I'm interested to see what else Amanda Montell has. So I think this one will be really fun to listen to for us, Scissor. Alright, we have Rowlet, and this is a grass Pokemon and a reverse holo. So for that, it's to read a book with some kind of botanical element on the cover as well as a backlist. And for Rowlet, I'm going to go ahead and choose The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow. I believe this was when was this published? In 2020. I've read Alex E. Harrow before. I'm pretty sure was House of Hunger, Alex E. Harrow. No, that was Alexis Henderson, my bad. So I have not read an Alex E. Harrow yet, and this one is just absolutely gorgeous. It has the botanical elements on the cover, and it's about witches. From my understanding, we are in 1893, New Salem. And we're following the Eastwood sisters, James, Juniper, Agnes, Amaranth, and Beatrice Belladonna, who join suffragists in New Salem. They begin to pursue the forgotten words in ways that might turn the women's movement into a witches' movement, stalked by shadows and sickness, hunted by forces that will not suffer a witch to vote. So I remember listening to this months ago and like kind of got into it, but kind of just fell out of it. So I do want to read and finish it. It's a gorgeous cover. I hate the deckled edges, but other than that, it sounds like one that I'd be fairly interested in. So we have Spoink, which is a psychic, and for psychic it is to read a thriller, and it is also a reverse holo, so it's to read a backlist thriller. Okay, so for the reverse holo Spoink, I'd like to do His and Hers by Alice Feeney. Alice Feeney I've read from before. I read Daisy Darker, which I absolutely loved. I give 5 stars. And then I read Rock, Paper, Scissors, which I didn't like as much, but I still really enjoyed it. Particularly, I remember when that came out and people were trying to pitch it, and it was just like not hitting me. So when I kind of just like started reading it on a whim, like it felt like what others were trying to pitch it as wasn't the correct way to pitch it. But I did really enjoy it. This is another psychological thriller by Alice Feeney, His and Hers. And from my understanding, a woman is murdered in a quintessential British village. Newsreader Anna Andrews is reluctant to cover the case, and Detective Jack Harper is suspicious of her involvement until he becomes a suspect in his own murder investigation. Someone isn't telling the truth, and some secrets are worth killing to keep. So I feel like this is going to be a lot of hearsay, which I'm cautious about, but otherwise I'm interested to know if I enjoy other Alice Feeney's works. Next we have Charmeleon, which is the evolved form of Charmander, and it's a fire Pokemon, so that is to read something that has been popular or is currently popular. And I feel like with, let's see, I'm going to go with Murder Road by Simone St. James. I've been seeing this around and thankfully haven't been spoiled for it yet. This is the Illumicrate Evernight edition of the book, which I'm really pleased with, but I'm wondering if it fits the mood. I'm hoping that it does. It kind of gives me Scooby-Doo quality to it. I haven't heard the best things, but I haven't spoiled myself for it yet, so I'm really interested to see how this goes. And basically we are following this couple here who was on their honeymoon and are driving down this road, and they find a hitchhiker, so they pick her up, and it turns out she's like profusely bleeding, and so they take her to a hospital where she dies. And so the police get involved and start questioning the couple, only for the couple to realize that they're the suspects of not only this potential murder, but other murders that have happened along the stretch of road. And so now they're trying to figure out the mystery behind these murders to clear their names, is how I understand it. So yeah, that's my pick for Charmeleon. We have Beartick, which is the evolved form of Cubchoo, and this is a water Pokemon, so it's to read a book that's set on a different, in a different country, continent, or planet. And for that, I'm going to choose a book that I've had on my TBR before, but it got here too late within the month, and so I wasn't able to get to it. And I'm still really wanting to read it, and that is Butter by Asako Yuzuki. So this is kind of giving me, even though I haven't read it, it's giving me the Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, in which, but rather than a starlet, we are following a gourmet cook turned serial killer who was killing off lonely businessmen who they have said is she seduced through her home cooking, and she refuses to talk to anybody. But then Rika Machida, I think that's her name, Rika Machida, is a journalist who writes and asks for a specific recipe from the serial killer, and they start a conversation. It sounds really fun in all honesty, and I've been really kind of hooked on food books lately, so I'm really curious to see where this goes, and it's a really lovely cover. I'm just really upset that the alignment is a bit off, but other than that, I think that's what I'm going to choose for this because it's set in Japan. This is Flamigo, which is a normal type Pokemon, so it's to read a contemporary. And for that, I am going to go with Indian Burial Ground by Nick Medina. This is Nick Medina's sophomore novel. I am presently, as of this filming this, reading his debut, which is Sisters of a Lost Nation, and I'm loving it so far. So this is part of my 24 of 2024, and so I would like to get it done, but I'm also kind of excited for it. We are following a young woman who is an indigenous to Louisiana. She's ready to move off the reservation with her fiance, only for her fiance to die by suicide. Nothing makes sense though of his case, even though the cops are saying it was an open and shut case of suicide. It doesn't make sense to our main character. He wouldn't have ended his own life. So she feels like there's something more sinister going on the reservation than anyone's willing to admit. And so it's kind of like a murder mystery type element to it. Again, I'm so far liking Sisters of the Lost Nation, so I'm really curious to see how I'll like Nick Medina's other works. So I'm excited, and I love this cover. Bonsly, which is a fighting Pokemon, and a fighting Pokemon means has the prompt of reading a book from an author I've read from before, and for that, I'm going to pick up Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. I read a couple of other books by T. Kingfisher, A House of Good Bones, as well as What Moves the Dead, of which I love both of them. I've heard mixed things about her fairy tale inspired books. And basically this one, we are following Mara, who is the third born sister, and it turns out that her older sisters, who have been married off to princes, have been abused by the princes. The princes are terrible. I don't know if it's one prince or they each have their own prince, but basically a terrible prince. and Mara realizes that there's no one there to go rescue her sisters. So she's going to go rescue her sisters with the help of a grave witch who is going to help her if she completes 3 impossible tasks. So that's all I know. That's all I really want to know. This is the UK edition because I really didn't like the US edition's dust cover, but I do really like its naked cover, which this doesn't have. So that's a little disappointing. But I'm curious to see how I'll like Tinking Fisher's other work. So. This is Zolive, which is the evolved form of Smoliv, and it's another grass Pokemon, so it's to read a book with botanical elements on the cover. And for that, I am going to put another one that was on my TBR earlier this year, but unfortunately because of how late it came out and how long it took it to arrive to me through mail, I wasn't able to get to it. But that is A Botanical Daughter by Noah Medlock. This is following 2 men in the Victorian era London. I believe they're in a queer relationship, and one, Simon, likes his taxidermical work, and Gregor likes his exotic plants. But when he ends up coming across a fungus that is showing signs of intellect beyond any plant he's seen, it inspires him to attempt to master true intelligent life from plant matter. So I think it's like inspired by Frankenstein. I'm not entirely sure, but that's what I'm choosing, and it sounds really fun. That's one thing I'm realizing. I'm not as stressed with how many physical books is on this TBR because I have 2 months to read them. Though looking at it now and thinking about it, it is making me a little anxious, so maybe I'll look into a couple more audiobooks or see what I can get through Libby. But again, like it feels like the pressure's a little off now. Next, we have Timpole, which is a water Pokemon. So another book that is set in a different country, continent, or planet. So I think I'm gonna try for Timpole to do As Long as Lemon Trees Grow by Zolfa Katao. My apologies. Narrated by Rasha Zamamiri. This is a love letter to Syria and its people. A speculative novel set amid the Syrian revolution, burning with the fires of hope, love, and possibility. We're following Salama Kassab, who was a pharmacy student when the cries for freedom broke out in Syria. She still had her parents and her big brother. She still had her home. She had a normal teenager's life. Now Salama volunteers at a hospital in Homs, helping the wounded who fled through the doors daily. Secretly, she is desperate to find a way out of her beloved country before her sister-in-law Layla gives birth. So desperate that she has manifested a physical embodiment of her fear in a form of her imagined companion, Kof, who haunts her every move in an effort to keep her safe. That's all I know. That's all I want to know. I remember Jan from Jan Agaton reading this and like saying it's very hard hitting because the narrator like definitely shows, like you can feel the emotion the narration has through the narrator. So we'll see. But it sounds like a really good hard hitting one. And finally, we have Surskit, which is a grass Pokemon, so as to read another book with some botanical elements on the cover. And I think for that, for Surskit, I'm gonna go with The Collected Regrets of Clover by Mickey Brommer. This is the UK edition because I liked it better than the US edition. But we're following Clover Brooks, who has forgotten how to live. It might be because she spends her time caring for people in their final days working as a death doula in New York City, or it might be because she has a regret of her own, one she can't bring herself to let go of. But then she meets Claudia, a feisty old woman who has one last wish. As Clover begins a new adventure, will she remember how to live her own big, beautiful life? So it's been one I've been wanting to get to, and I don't know if it's just like the cover that's giving me summer vibes despite its topic of death. I think it's going to be really nice though. So yeah. These are the physical books I would like to get to in the months of June and July. Yeah, it's still kind of a lot, but I feel a bit better knowing I have 2 months as opposed to 1. And it leaves me room to kind of play around with the Buzzwordathon challenge, the book of the month challenge I have for myself, and the Indigenous reads for myself, as well as the 24 of 2024. I do have one 24 of 2024 on there, Indian Burial Ground. I don't think I have anything for the Buzzwordathon for the next 2 months. June, I believe is a repeated word. I don't think any of them have that. And then in July, it is a type of measurement. So we will see. And I don't think I have any book of the month books on there, which is fine because it tends to be, I'm tending to rely on Libby for that. So we'll see which ones I'm able to find. But yeah. Hopefully this works out. Like I said, I'm kind of testing it for the rest of the year to kind of see how it goes. You will still receive monthly wrap-ups from me, just to kind of check in to see how I'm doing with my TBR, as well as just because I feel like doing a 2-month wrap-up sounds like it's going to be a pain and a lot. So, and I actually like doing my monthly wrap-ups, so that's fine. It's just the TBRs are going to be covering for 2 months. So yeah, I think that's about it. Let me know if you read anything. Let me know in the comments what you thought of them. Please no spoilers. Otherwise, let's go ahead and, I know I've done this several times in the past, but let's go ahead and do it again. Your favorite plant emoji in the comments down below if you don't want to answer the questions and you don't have the spoons. Otherwise, thank you so much for supporting. Be sure to like or subscribe to this video if you have yet to do so. And I hope that you are in the mental mindset to enjoy your reading. I will see you in another video very soon. Ciao.